So, hi Lovely, shall we begin now?
Hi, Geeta. How are you?
Good, thank you. Okay, before we begin, let me just put in a sort of a preface. Well, I'm doing these interviews with our ascended masters or deities just to satisfy my curiosity and to clarify some doubts of mine. That's it. I do this with the greatest of respect for all devotees of not just Lord Ram, whom we are going to interview today, but of all the deities we've interviewed so far. So bear with me if it goes against your beliefs.
So I'll just take a deep breath in and let's see who comes up first, whether it's Ram or Hanuman, right?
Yes.
Wow. So Hanuman is here already. It's almost like he was waiting, but for some reason he wants Ram to go first.
Yeah, fair enough, because he's a devotee of Ram and he respects him. So
Yeah, something that sort, that kind of a feeling. But also he said, this is Hanuman stepping forward. He said, Ram has more to give you, almost like, more information or maybe more myths to be busted,
yes,
like always. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So shall we begin our questions for Ram?
Yeah. Let me just see how I what's the energy like. I'm getting an energy of a wise man.
Okay.
But also, okay, so when I said wise man, he said someone who learned from his mistakes.
Oh, okay. That would be me too.
Yeah, that's most of us.
But yeah,
he
wise.
said,
not wise though.
Okay, so yeah, that's what he's giving me, and he's like I'm getting a very calm energy. He's almost like sitting down at some place, and I'm seeing like he's showing me a tree, like tree. They have like an old tree. I think it's either a banyan tree or a peepal. I don't know what people called in English, peepal tree with the heart-shaped leaves. Yeah, so it's like a huge, it's like really huge. It's almost like the trunk is huge and he's almost sitting in front of it, almost leaning to the trunk of the tree. And he's like relaxed and ready for the questions that we have.
Okay. Is he alone or is he with Lakshman, Sita?
No, right now I'm just seeing him.
Okay,
he's
great.
himself.
Okay. So, Ram, are you one of Vishnu's incarnations? You're supposed to be the seventh avatar according to Hindu mythology.
So, what was that again? Is he Vishnu's?
In one of his incarnations.
Yes. Yeah, I got a yes.
Okay. Great. Okay, so that would mean Krishna was also, one of his whatever from the same higher self, and another, another form of
He said
Ram.
soul fractions.
Soul fractions. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting.
Okay. Was his father's name Dashrath and his mom Kaushalya?
I got a yes for the father's name and no for the mother's name. He was born to some other woman, he says. And wow, it's almost like his father was into an expedition, in the jungle, and he saw this baby who was abandoned all by himself in the jungle.
Okay.
So and he brought him home, almost like adopted son kind of thing, which
So
I don't think it's there in the mythology, right?
no, it's not. Although mythology says that his three wives, Dashrath's three wives, couldn't bear him any children, so they did some yajna and some fire ritual, and they were blessed. We offer kheer, right, to the gods during any festival, so any ceremony. So I think they were asked to drink that kheer, and then they would what's the word? They would get pregnant. They would bear children. And Ram.
You know what? Sorry. Go ahead. I'll tell you what he's giving me then. Go ahead.
And Ram is supposed to have been born to Kausalya, and Bharat to Kaikeyi, and to Sumitra were born Shatrughan and Lakshman.
You know what he's giving me? It's almost like he said it was supposed to be kept a secret, because then if the relatives know that he's not the real son, obviously it would affect after his father's death.
Yeah.
He want to get the inheritance, and which actually happened. It was almost like that's what I mean, according to my very less knowledge, but he almost his father had a lot of enemies, to say so, or like not people who did not want good of him. So it's almost like he sensed that his son, the adopted son, that is Ram, would face difficulties after his death, which he didn't want. So it was almost kept a secret, and only he and his wife knew that it was not their own child. And thanks to his age, because he was a very tiny baby when his father got him.
Okay.
So it was very convenient, he says.
Okay. So Bharat, Lakshman, and Shatrughan, they're all true also. They were his real half-brothers.
Yes.
Nice. Very interesting. Okay. Is Ayodhya where it is located today, or was it somewhere else?
He says part of it.
Okay.
It's almost like the Ayodhya that is mentioned in Ramayana, right? So the current Ayodhya was part of that Ayodhya. So it was vaster than the current Ayodhya. Then there were a lot of bifurcation happened as there were more kings, and so there were partitions and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So the area was bigger.
All right. So was he found where the current Ram Mandir is being built?
Was the baby found there? I mean, was the baby Ram around that area, he says.
Oh, okay. So no wonder the devotees want to build a temple there. Yeah.
You know what he's giving me? He's almost like, okay, so he's mentioning this one particular tree under which his father found him. So it was more that his father wanted to have something like a shrine or something. I don't know if that's a particular, that's the right word to use, but it's almost like, in the remembrance of that particular incident, where he found his beloved son.
Nice. Okay.
So, and then when his father passed, he shared his, that's what his willing to do. He shared his thoughts to his followers, and that's why maybe the temple was built.
Okay. All right. So, did he have a sister named Shanta?
Okay. So I'll have to ask you, maybe you can research, maybe you know it already. Was the name Shanta Kumari the whole name?
I wouldn't know. I've only heard of Shanta.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't make this up because he said, no, it was Shanta Kumari. Yes, she was, he said.
Wow. Okay. So it's short. Shanta is short for Shanta Kumari.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Right. So, Was the Ramayan real? The story of the entire Ramayan real, or just parts of it?
Yes, he says, but again, he's like, but as it happened with many other texts, that as it came along the time, it was passed from one person, from one hand to another. Yes, sorry?
Interpolations.
Yes,
yes. And interpretations.
And interpretations, and almost like he says a lot of his sayings or the messages or the stories lost its essence.
Oh, okay.
In translation or in how you put it.
Yeah, in getting passed on. Okay, yes. So what was the message that he would like to convey?
It was tolerance, forgiveness. Belongingness, the sense of belonging and the loss of sense of belonging. So now he's mentioning he being pushed away to the forest from his family, so he was abandoned, almost like again he says. And that was his contract. So he faced abandonment. It was obviously a contractual thing. He had signed up for it as he took birth as Ram, as a physical person. But yeah, again, he said he faced that twice. Once as a baby, then again when he was older.
Oh, okay.
And he says the latter was painful.
Of course. Yeah. So was Sita real, his wife?
Yes.
Okay. Before I ask more questions about her birth, what's the timing of his lifetime? When was he born? Which year? And his birthday is supposed to be some nakshatra, I forget the nakshatra, in the month of April, Chitra, according to the Hindu calendar.
Let me just write this down because it helps, with the date. Was this whole thing okay? I'll have to ask you because I have. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes.
So the whole the Ramayana, did that happen? It just maybe 300, 400 years ago?
No, supposed to have been in the, if I'm not mistaken, Kruta Yug or Treta Yug, because he's supposed to be a Satyavan, one of the earliest souls when truth prevailed, virtues prevailed.
Okay, so I thought it was 1600s, but it isn't. I'm getting something like 160 BC.
160 BC. To me, it seems a little too early. I would have thought something like way before Dwapar Yuga. So something like, I've read somewhere probably some
so
8,000.
It could be, 1600. Can it be like 1600s? Because I'm getting confused between that. But yeah,
maybe 16,000. I'm not sure.
It's okay. So it can be 1600 BC.
Okay, possibly.
I don't know.
He's before. Yeah, with dates. Yeah, we can't tell because for them the concept of time doesn't exist. You see.
Yeah, maybe he's talking about human years. Definitely, when the written concept.
Because Krishna is 5,000 years ago. Krishna is 5,000 years ago, and Ram is before him. So I would have thought something like 7,000 years ago.
But you know what he's mentioning? He says, use your logic, that he's telling us. Ramayana was a written script. So definitely scripting had began, whether it was in the old leaves, what they had, like manuscripts kind of things.
Palm leaf, yeah. palm leaf.
Palm leaf. But so it was somewhere around the time when it had become mainstream, like people wrote stuff.
Okay, possible.
Maybe we can do some research around that time. Yeah, when he said early text.
I'm sure it was before even script was invented. It was passed on by word of mouth, and then it was scripted probably during that time.
It's almost making me feel like it was scripted. It was written as he was alive, which is because you know what he's showing me. He's almost showing me like they used to walk in the jungle for hours and hours, right? So he used to almost narrate his own story to his followers or his friends or the people whom he met in the jungle. Sometimes some yogis also. So, and one of them got interested. So it was almost like written. He says it was almost like an old-time interview, but happening in parts.
All right. Okay. So there are many versions of the Ramayana, and is Valmiki's is said to be the oldest. Is it the most reliable, or is it the most factual? Let's put it that way.
He's talking about, oh wow, it's almost like the original text was never found, he said.
Oh.
What actually was Valmiki's book made of those leaves? It was like a manuscript. It was never found. So it was almost, you know what he's showing me? Almost like as Valmiki was passing, when it was his time, he was dying, he says, it was almost parts of it were given to one of his followers, and some of it got lost. Almost like losing pages from a book.
Yeah.
Because obviously there was, and he's talking about binding. The concept of binding wasn't there initially.
Yeah. So
it was all loose leaves.
Yeah.
And he's almost showing me, what climatic change would do to them.
Yeah.
And obviously there was no, to preserve them, it was like very less means. It won't stay for long. So if you ask, so whatever was left and rest was whatever was added were assumptions.
Oh, okay.
So obviously because he's laughing, he says, we should wish that the follower could channel Sage Valmiki to receive the parts of it. You know how we are doing? So he says, yeah, but that didn't happen. So it was mostly assumptions. Maybe after this would have happened and so on. So it was a hint of his own storytelling skills, he says. So yes. But if the original script would have been found that was written by Valmiki, yes, it was like most of it was true.
But right now,
and also he's mentioning the way Valmiki wrote was never. It was almost like an observer point of view.
Yeah,
he was very neutral. He says,
true.
I've never read Ramayana, so I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, again, so maybe the Ramayana we read will be different. Yeah,
of course. What we watch on TV would be totally different. Okay.
And I was asking him, so right now what we have is 60% true.
Oh, okay. All right. So Sita's birth, there's an interesting legend about Sita's birth. Was she, and there's also a myth that goes that Sita was Ravan's daughter. So was she born to Janaka, the natural way?
Who's Janaka?
Sita's father. King Janaka, some place in Nepal presently.
Yes, I'm getting, yes, Janaka was her biological father.
Oh, okay.
Wow, this is like getting very interesting. He said there was another woman who was also named Sita, almost like Sita's sister, which, yeah, he's just giving as a trivia.
Okay.
Sita had a sister who was also, I mean, that time it was common to, give same names or similar names to children who were born in the same family or something like that.
Maybe like Gita or Sita.
Yeah, something like that. Even I thought that. Yeah.
Well, she had sisters. I forget her names. She did have two other younger sisters, or three, I'm not sure. And one of them married Lakshman. So is that true? One of Sita's sisters married Lakshman?
Yes, one of them.
Interesting. Okay, so it is true, 60% of it. Okay, so did Sita and Lakshman accompany Ram when his stepmother Kaikeyi, Bharat's mother, banished him from the kingdom? Did they accompany him to the jungle?
You know what he's giving me? He's almost like they went to drop me kind of feeling. Like, they send me off, but they didn't live with me.
Oh.
It was almost like they traveled with him until a certain distance.
Yeah.
And it was his choice, and almost he took it on himself that it's my punishment to
his karma. His karma.
Yeah, to say so. Yeah. So let me do this on my own. Yeah.
Oh, so the entire story about Sita's abduction by Ravan did not happen at all.
It did. But you know what is he's making me feel? Almost like Sita was never abducted from where Ram was. She was abducted from her palace, where she lived. Maybe she went back to her father or something, because that's what I'm getting.
By Ravan? Was she abducted by Ravan?
Yes.
Okay. And the story goes that Ravan took her on a flying vehicle. I think something like Pushpaka Viman or something like that. So flying vehicles existed in those days. I believe they could have.
Well, actually, I just saw a huge bird. Was there a huge bird? I've seen parts of it, so it's very confusing. So, I keep asking them for confirmation. There was a bird called Garuda, right? This is me asking.
Yeah. There was.
So,
yeah.
Was it related to Ravan?
I don't think so. Garuda spotted Sita being carried by Ravan, and Garuda probably, according to the legend, Garuda tried to stop Ravan or something like that, and then he got injured in the process, and then he remained alive to tell Ram about the direction in which Sita was taken.
You know what? It's almost funny. What I'm getting right, I'm just asking again. I'll just take a while, Geeta, because I don't want to go wrong on this. You know what he's giving me? It's almost like Ravan saved Geeta when Garuda was trying to abduct, because they showed me like a huge bird coming and trying to what they do, like with their beak,
grab.
Yeah, grab and take her as his prey. And Ravan was somebody who saved Gita and took her home because she was wounded.
Oh,
It's funny, yeah. We never got this part of the story, right?
I know, very interesting. So when does Hanuman come into the picture? Because when according to Ramayan that we have today, when when Sita was abducted, Ram and Lakshman started their pursuit of finding Sita, getting her back from Sri Lanka. So on their way somewhere, they met the Monkey King. Monkey King, I forget the name. And then comes Hanuman to help Ram with his monkey army. And Hanuman helps Ram, Lakshman across the, I think it's the Indian Ocean to Sri Lanka. And then Hanuman was the one who spots Sita in the garden of Ravan. And then Hanuman comes back, he flies back to tell Ram, and then they wage a war. And Hanuman was instrumental in finding Sita and in also bringing about the destruction of Ravan and his clan, the Asura clan, and Sri Lanka in total.
You know what? And they're almost laughing. He says, yes, most of this happened, but it was almost on for a huge misunderstanding.
What was
Sita was never abducted. He had saved Ravana, had saved Gita, and in fact help her heal. Wow, we have Ravana stepping in.
Oh, Ravana stepping in. Okay. Sugriva is the Monkey King's name. And I don't know the relationship between Sugriva and Hanuman.
This very, very huge built, handsome looking man here, who is almost, very, he's trying to speak very gently. He's showing me his, his energy is almost like he's showing his physical self, which has a lot of,
power.
Yeah, power.
He's supposed to have 10.
That's all about his energy.
Ravan is portrayed as someone with 10 heads,
meaning
that much wisdom, a scholar, Shiva Bhakt, a Veena player. Yeah. And he's portrayed as, or his only weakness is portrayed as that for women. That's it. So.
He says, well, it wasn't. And he's talking about his mother, though. And he says, I was brought up better. I was always taught to love and respect women.
That's why he saved Sita. That's why he saved Sita.
Yes, and he's almost showing. So, if the question arises, so why he took her away? So he's showing me the chaos that happened when, there was a fight between Garuda, and he's also showing he also had a animal. I don't know, there used to be flying animals back then. I have no clue. No. Or something like that.
Not that the legend mentions any.
Yeah. So, so he's like sort of telling me at that moment, taking her away from that area was the safest. Okay. So she wasn't hunted.
So there was no war between his army and Ram's army.
There was. That's what he's coming at. He says, but when Sita was seen in his territory, it looked like she was abducted against her will. which never was the case. And he's talking about women speaking out. It was never the case. At that moment, women were like, submissive.
Yeah, yeah.
Not unlike now. Yeah, women are still submissive. Yeah, most of us. Anyway, yeah. So
not anymore. The situation is changing. The feminine energy is
changing. It has a long way to go, but
yeah.
Again, so it was like nobody asked her the true story or something like that. So it was like when it was passed on, and he's talking, how it used to be, like messages took days and months to reach
of course
people.
Yeah. We didn't have they didn't have emails or WhatsApp then.
Yeah. So it's almost like what they say, the Chinese whisper, the Japanese whisper. What is it?
No, it's not.
When a message is passed on, it loses.
They would send the messenger on horseback with the.
No, I'm saying it works like the Chinese whisper. It loses its essence. That's one thing. And and sometimes it loses its essence in multiple ways. Some things are like so time bound, but it never reaches on time. Yeah,
I know what you mean.
So he can't blame anybody, he says.
Misunderstanding. Okay, so there was indeed a war. Okay. Okay, how about Hanuman? What's his role in the war? And when did he appear in the life of Ram?
What was his role in the war and
when did he appear in the life of Ram? When he was in the jungle, obviously.
Hanuman, I don't know what is mentioned in the Ramayana, but Hanuman, the one who spotted
Sita, yeah, he did.
Sorry.
He is portrayed as the son of the wind god, Vayu. He's portrayed as the son of the wind god, and probably as an avatar of Shiva. And his mom is Anjana or Anjani, who was a celestial beauty, a celestial nymph, according to legend. And I don't know why he had the form of a monkey, but a very powerful monkey he was, and he helped Ram win the battle against Ravan.
He's almost giving like he was on his own expedition in the jungle when he spotted Sita, and he mistook it as no, you know what he's showing me? It was not like Sita was okay. Wow. So obviously Ravana had his kingdom, right?
Yeah, in Sri Lanka. Is it true?
But Sita, yes, but Sita was a little reluctant to stay in another man's territory. So, but yes, she needed some healing. So she said like I would rather stay in a hut, which is in a nearby jungle or in the same territory or something like that. So she being another person's wife, she was a little reluctant staying in another man's territory. So yeah, that's how she was living somewhere else, and she was all by herself. And maybe there were these women who used to help her out and stuff like that, and the food was arranged by people. But so that's when Hanuman spots her.
Okay, and that was in Sri Lanka. Why would Hanuman go to Sri Lanka? Because he wanted to help
Eric says he was on a world tour. Yeah, it was almost like that. He was passing from one territory to another. He was like, acquiring knowledge. And Hanuman is almost making me feel like he was a fan of the different, what's the word? The nature's different phases.
Yeah.
The terrain is different in different areas of the world.
Flora and fauna.
Flora and fauna. Yeah. So he always loved that.
Okay. So
and he's also talking. Wow. Maybe that's why he knew. He's talking about the herbs and stuff like that. So he wanted to acquire some knowledge regarding that. And I don't know. So I suddenly think of Sanjeevni Booty. So I don't know whether it was his idea or he got it.
Did he really have to, when Lakshman was wounded by one of Ravan's people, I don't know who, Ravan's sons or brothers, I'm not sure who, wounded Lakshman in the war, he needed some healing, some herb. So Hanuman flew to the Himalayas and because all the herbs were glowing, so he couldn't tell which particular one was required. So he uprooted the entire, I think if I'm not mistaken, Sanjeevani mountain. He uprooted the entire mountain and carried it over his shoulder to Lakshman, and then Lakshman was revived.
Okay, so this is what he's giving me. He carrying the whole mountain depicts also his strength.
Yeah.
But he actually did hike. I mean, he was mountaineering.
Nice.
The hills were where it was located. The Sanjeevni Booty was one of the tallest and most difficult to climb kind of
mountains in the Himalayas.
Yes, in the Himalayas. So his achievement is almost shown like, the victory is also almost like depicted in a way, like he carrying the mountain, but that didn't happen, he says. But yes, he took a huge load of herbs because yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could he fly?
And he's also showing me like, because he was always interested in those things. He says it was more also for study purposes.
Okay. Yeah. Did he fly really?
No, he didn't. He did hiking and
just hiking. All right. So he was a monkey, not a human.
Yes, he was. He was like a hybrid, like Eric says. He was like part ape and part human.
Not part of the planet Earth then? Was he an ET from somewhere else?
No, he was very much from Earth.
Like Yeti? Snowman?
He says he was more evolved. He was almost like a human being.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's almost like, his next races began looking more like humans.
Like humans, okay. The prototype.
Yeah.
Okay, so they coexisted. Humans and the ape-like humans coexisted.
Yes.
So the timing must have been...
what he's mentioning, it's almost like there were also people like traveling from one place to another. So because of how nature works, certain areas or certain habitats were more conducive is the word?
Conducive.
For the development or evolving as a human being. Okay. So those areas, the growth or the evolution was faster than certain places.
Interesting.
So that's why it was all like mixed. Eric says mixed.
In a symbiotic relationship.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So did he meet Ram at all? Were they friends?
Who was Hanuman's father again?
I'm not sure.
Because he's almost mentioning Ram's father and his father. The fathers had something to do together in the kingdom.
Really? Okay. Well, according to legend, it's very mythical. Vayu, the wind god, and the mother is an Apsara, a celestial nymph. That's how the legend goes. But
he's not giving me much about his parents, though. But yes, the fathers were friends, or maybe from the same kingdom or something.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and or maybe involved in trade also. But yeah, there was some kind of a strong relationship.
Okay, so were they friends? Hanuman and Ram.
Yeah, you can call them that, he says.
Okay.
Hanuman and Ram.
Because according to the story, he's a
He says
devotee.
more, he says more of acquaintances, but that time it was survival was much stronger then. So yeah, by the whole war and all those things.
Yeah.
It was almost like if one kingdom was affected, the nearby kingdoms would get affected.
Yeah.
So it was obviously, in his own interest also, and his people to be the part of to support.
So in the war, how did Ram fight? Did he fight with a monkey army, or did he have other humans to fight the war against Ravan?
He had an army of his own, but it was less in number, but because obviously he was abandoned. He was abandoned by his father, so he only had his fellow men and maybe some people who was called by Lakshmana. And you know what Eric is showing me right now? It's like he's hilarious. Like when there are these fights among boys, they give a call to their friends and all the gang leaders come. And it's he's almost showing like a fight, the street gang wars and things like that. But yeah, it helps actually. The visuals help. So that's how it actually began. So that's why he needed help of the monkey army. And and Hanuman and his army was happy to help because they also belong to the I'm hearing the nearby kingdom or something.
Yeah, okay. So they all jumped on the bandwagon, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Ravan was killed in the battle.
I'm hearing he was deeply wounded. So he did live for some time.
Oh, afterwards. Okay. All right. So after the war,
I'm hearing days. He lived some days.
Some days. During those days, it is said that he taught Lakshman, some whatever, what strategy, military strategies, how to fight and stuff like that. I'm sure this is all hearsay. It's not true.
Who taught?
Ravan is supposed to have taught Lakshman military strategies and stuff.
I'm getting a no for that.
All right. Okay. So after the war, Ram got Sita. Did he have to go through the Agni Pariksha, the ordeal of having to walk through fire in order to prove her chastity?
Yes.
She did? Oh my God. And she survived it.
She was a strong woman, Ram says.
Nice. Yeah, that's good.
Stronger than me, he says.
Okay, he's being humble. And Ram, after you took her back, she was expecting your sons, but you still banished her to the jungle because, the story goes, Ram he had become king. He had come back to the kingdom after 14 years, or before 14 years were up, and he was crowned king. And then what happened was kings usually send out spies in the night to check what the citizens, the people are saying about the king, whether they are good or not so good, etc., etc. So he had sent some spies out, and one of them came back. One of them happened to listen in on a conversation that a washerman was having with his wife, who had spent a day at a friend's or something like that. So he said, "You think I'm Ram to take you back?" So he was kind of doubting his wife's chastity. So I'm not a fool like Ram to take you back. So go away, go and live wherever you came from. So on hearing this, Ram banished Sita to the jungle. And she went to live in Valmiki's ashram, where she gave birth to Love and Kush. Is the story true?
You know what I'm getting? He's giving me like he banished her just for showing people. She was not actually banished. He very well took care of her and his children. but not in the eye of
Yeah.
kingdom people, because again he would lose his power. So
Yeah.
again, he won't be able to help his own family.
Mhm.
So it was almost like a strategic decision,
Mhm.
just for people. But yeah, he was very much together with
Yeah.
his family.
Yeah, something comes to mind. Somewhere I read about Samanya Dharma and Vishesh Dharma. Samanya Dharma was his responsibility towards his wife and children. But the special Dharma and the more important one was to look after his entire kingdom. So he opted for the the Vishesh Dharma, and he banished her. Was this the true reason why he did that?
No, he says he almost tried to keep a balance.
Oh, to keep a balance. All right. Okay,
Yeah,
so
like trying to do both.
Yeah, in order not to upset anyone. Okay.
Yes.
Were Love and Kush his sons really? Ram, are they your sons?
Yes, and he says he had more children. I don't know whether they are mentioned.
Okay. Love and Kush are supposed to be his sons. That Sita bore in the Valmiki ashram. So no sons. All right. So Ram, which dimension are you in now?
No, he had more children. Love and Kush were his sons, but he had more children. They were other children.
Oh, by Sita.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Right. And Bharat was his brother.
Half brother?
Half brother, yeah. Kaikeyi's son,
Yeah.
whom Kaikeyi
Yes.
wanted to become king. That's the reason why she got Dashrath to send him on exile, to banish Ram.
Yeah.
But Bharat, did he really refuse to be king because he loved his brother so much and he thought that his brother was the most suitable person to be king? Did Bharat love him that much that he took his padukas, his sandals, and he placed the sandals on the throne and he ruled? I mean, the sandals ruled Ayodhya in Ram's absence.
Eric says Bharat had some self-esteem issues. He didn't think that he can be a good king. That was the main reason.
That was the reason, although the mother wanted him to be king.
Yes, he didn't think he had it.
Had it in
him. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so when he came back, he happily relinquished the throne to Ram, I suppose. Okay, so how did Sita die? According to the legend, when Ram comes to comes to take her back to the kingdom from Valmiki ashram, she doesn't want to go back because people, kind of cast doubts on her chastity. So according to the legend, if I remember correctly, or one of the legends that I've heard of, Mother Earth split and she was devoured by Mother Earth.
No, she died of childbirth.
Oh, okay. So how many children did she bear him?
I'm hearing at least 4 or 5 children.
4 or 5 children. All right. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, most of them lived in
the jungle.
Lived in the ashram or something like that.
Yeah. Ashram. Okay. So Ram, which dimension are you in now?
He works as a guide, but he has taken rebirth as many times as human beings, he says.
All right, interesting.
Right now, he's not a human incarnate. I mean, right now, if you ask, like,
he's a spirit
now. Yeah.
Okay. How about Sita? Was Sita an incarnation of Shakti, the divine feminine? But which dimension would he? I know they have no vertical dimension.
Very much like an ordinary. Even Ram was like that. Like they're very ordinary humans.
Of course, when they are born, they are ordinary, and then because of you know, what they have achieved, they become spirit guides. Okay, 10th dimension, 11th dimension. How many dimensions are there? I know they don't believe in vertical dimensions. Everything is like, what do you call it? They don't believe in hierarchy. Nevertheless,
13, I don't know. 13.
25. He's on the 13th dimension.
No, I'm hearing there are 13 dimensions in total. I
Oh,
don't know if,
okay.
I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what I'm hearing.
And he is which dimension?
11.
11th dimension. Okay, interesting. Yeah, those are the ones who are attributed God's qualities. This is what I've heard. Okay. Now, how about Sita? Is she incarnate now?
Yes, she's into a human incarnation.
Right now? Where? Which country?
Could be the United States.
Okay.
That's what I got. I'm asking.
Man or woman?
Yeah.
As a man, as male or female?
Woman.
As a woman, interesting. Okay. All right. So is there anything you would like to share with us that we don't know about the Ramayana?
You know what he says?
Mhm.
Ramayan was never about my achievements. It was about my failures.
Oh, it's so sweet. Mhm.
But yeah, and that was about my failures, was about my lessons.
Mhm.
And that's why he was trying to impart his knowledge that this is what he's learned. You know, this happened in my life, and this is the lesson that I got from this particular incident. That's how it all began, the storytelling.
Mhm.
But again, people believe in giving the power away, and you know,
Yeah,
they understand things from their own sense of perception.
true. And during the 14 years, I've read that he would, you know, sit at the feet of every rishi that there was at every ashram, and he would learn from them.
Yes, he did.
He
Yes.
did that. And how about the story of Ahalya, that he stepped on a rock and then Ahalya came alive? Did he have that power? Did that miracle happen?
Alia was one of the sage's daughter that he met, he said.
Yes. All right. Okay. Probably she was inspired by him. And how about the story of a chipmunk? You know, we say that the chipmunk helped him just before the war with Ravan. Is that real? The chipmunk. I mean, a legend goes that he kind of, you know, stroked the chipmunk on its back, and the three lines appeared. The three white lines appeared on its back. Interesting story, though.
There were, no, he's not, he's saying no for that.
Okay.
But yes, there were a lot of animals that he came across which helped him in a lot of things in his journey through the jungle.
Okay. So for the most
He learned
part,
a lot from them.
Of course, for the most part of the 14 years, he was alone, except in the last year when Sita was abducted, or Sita was saved by Ravan and he had to go and bring her back.
Yeah.
All right. And Lakshman joined him in the last 1 year.
Yeah, he was mostly traveling, he says. He was not like
Of course.
at one place.
Yeah, true that. Otherwise, he could not have reached from Ayodhya all the way down to Sri Lanka and back to Ayodhya. Okay, so does Ravan is Ravan still there? Does he have any message for us? Does Ram have any message? Does Hanuman have any message? Is there anything they would like to say, Ravan or Hanuman?
It's like almost they are talking in unison. Whatever text we read, whatever book we read, whether it is a holy script, whether it is a you know, anything written by any written thing, anything that you hear, always take it with a pinch of salt.
Of course, yeah.
That's their message.
They're all stories, they're all fables with morals. Yeah.
Yes, and they're almost telling like, take from it whatever you need, and rest is none of your business.
Is Ravan incarnate now? And Hanuman.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Not Hanuman. Yes for Rama.
Okay, so where, which country, male, female?
An island nation, he says. An
An
island nation. Something, I don't know, it's not Sri Lanka. I don't know which another island nation. Is there an island near Sri Lanka? Where is Maldives? Where is Maldives?
Maldives, Seychelles, Mauritius.
Yeah, some area near Sri Lanka. Yeah,
I'm sure there are
he
tons
says.
of
He
other.
says, I'm. Yeah, similar culture. He says.
Oh, similar culture. All right, interesting. Okay, so how about Hanuman? You said no, but you know, people believe that whenever the Ramayana is recited, Hanuman loves Ram so much that his energy is there wherever and whenever Ramayana is recited by anyone, Hanuman will be there.
He says he loves people.
Okay.
So when things about him are also read, when Ramayana is read, it's almost like we think about Archangel Michael and he's there.
Yeah.
So the same way he's like, you know, a guide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So is there anything else at all? Any parting messages from anyone? Because it's time for you to go, lovely. Your baby.
No, that's all that they gave me right now.
So thank you so much, Ram. Thank you so much, Hanuman. Thank you, Ravan, for coming in. And thank you, Eric. And thank you, lovely. And
they're all doing a namaste. Namaste from me too.
Thank you. Please visit. Thank you all. Bye-bye for now. I'll be in touch. Okay, so you can visit Lovely's website and book your readings at thelovelylife.in. Okay, so thank you, Lovely. Bye.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Geeta. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.